I think we did this last year, but again, one of our important bonsai tools is right here, turntable. Lets us sit and view this thing from many different angles. You don't have to spend big money on it. This is a couple of chunks of, this is a bearing for a corner island in your cupboards. You go to Woodcraft or most hardware stores, you're going to be able to find those. They're probably about $5. A couple of rounds, and if you go to Menards, you can actually get pieces already cut round. Again, maybe $5-10, something like that. So you can have yourself a handy turntable for not a whole lot of money. What you see on here, the rubber pad, where I used to work, this is what drove coins through a machine to sort them at 10,000 coins a minute. So they were free. These were rejects that we couldn't use in production. So as we look at this tree, got the exposed root. So I'm looking right now at what could be a front, but the unique thing about this tree is either one of these sides could be a front. You know, here's one way to look at it, it's a front. Although I like where this is in front of the trunk, maybe a little bit more than when it's behind the trunk. But again, that's your choosing. We can always change the angle when we're hot. We can lift it up more.
I like it this way. It's more interesting.
This way here?
Yeah.
And then we got a branch here, which helps, gives us, so we'll want to, we'll put a little bit of wire just to make that branch go out so it's not going up into the canopy. And then we look at what we got for our canopy up here. And typically what happens with these, and what we're also going to see in the Chinese elms, is these things are initially, when they're about the size of this root here, they're planted in the ground. They put a big bamboo stake in the ground, and then they bend it over, wire it, put a loop in it, wire it, bend it over, wire it. And that's how they grow for the next couple of years, to get this exaggerated shape. So once that shape is in there, and in fact you can see on here where the bamboo, it grew to the point where it actually almost like wire scarred, although it's not terrible. I mean, I had them there where there's literally an indent when I looked at trees. So we're going to go from this side.
Now, if this is all ballast over and nothing will grow in there.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But ficus, along with other things, you could, at some point you could do an approach graft where maybe on the back side we cut that in, stick a scion in there, wrap it up, it may take, and you could then have a branch. Or we could grow a branch out, do a thread graft where we actually drill a hole through here and then thread a long branch back through that hole, wedge it in there, and then let it grow.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, it's things that you can do.
Yeah.
But what happens to these things typically is they grow like this, and now, as you can see, the top gets big. The big, bulky top of it. So our main task on this tree is going to be determining what up here do we want to keep and what do we want to try to make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so we have a number. We're going to just sort of go through this thing as we move up. As I told the group this morning, the whole goal of this session of classes is to prepare us for, in the future, if we bring a guest artist in, you have some skills that will benefit from him being there. one of the skills you're going to learn, and we're going to show you here, when you go to a workshop, and let's say there's usually going to be 6 to 8 people in the workshop. The workshop's usually 4 hours. That means if you divide the time up equally and there's 8 people, it means you get a half an hour of that artist's time. So if you're going to a workshop and you're bringing your own tree, the first thing I tell you is prepare your tree for the workshop. So if you just bring this tree like this to the workshop, the first thing I'm as a visiting artist, I'm going to say, okay, go through and clear out all the crotches and all the lower branches and the branches going straight up, and do all that. I'm moving on to the next person. That's your first turn. Guess what? You didn't accomplish a whole lot.
Right.
So anytime you're doing a workshop with a visiting artist, clean your tree out before you get there. So when you have branches that are growing straight down, you can tell that person's going to tell you to cut them off. If they're going straight up, they're going to tell you to cut them off. If you do all that up front, they're going to let you say, oh, it's already cleaned out. Okay, then let's look at what we're going to do. So that's a helpful hint. So as I look at this, this branch is coming from the bottom, and it curls up, so let's just get rid of it. This branch is going off to the bottom. I'm going to get rid of it. We've got all kinds of stuff here that's going together. And again, as you can see, little stubs in there. I cut those off. So as I look at this, again, we want to put a little marker in here so we remember where our front is. Because one of the things you'll find, if you're working on a tree and you spin it around a half a dozen times, and the next thing you know, you're working on the wrong side of the tree. So I'm just sort of putting something that says, okay, that's my front. I want to remember that. So if I'm going to the back, I'm looking at, I got a nice branch that's coming out, but then I got a branch that's shooting straight up. I don't need that one going straight up. I want this thing to grow out. So now this is going to have more growth coming out this way. Right in here, I got a crotch. I don't need that in there. Just taking that out, getting it out of the way. Now I've got 2 branches here that I can become back branches. Back branches are important because that's what gives us depth to our trees, so that all our trees aren't like a espalier tree against the wall. They're just two-dimensional. This we're going to put a little wire on and move out, and then we got this guy up here. So if we bring this out, that means that we got an opportunity to take this branch here and possibly put a little movement just to get it to stop trying to be that, trying to be more of a side branch. With that being said, then these 2 here sort of coming off the bottom of this branch, they're going into the back, not really doing us any good. We can take something here and lay it down and we get the same effect. So now if you're into cuttings, there you got to start of 3 more trees. Ficus are, yeah, they usually take pretty good. I myself don't bother. I got enough trees, I don't need all kinds of little cuttings. So now we start looking at it. That's going to be over here, and that's fine. Probably don't need this one going up. Be okay without that. Allow this branch to come off and be what it's supposed to be. we're getting up into the thickness of everything here. Now, as I said to the earlier group, and I'm going to say to this group too, we're going to do a certain amount of things here. And then there's some things that when we have our meeting in June, that's another one of our late meetings, and that's a meeting where your trees have flushed out, all the leaves have hardened off. It's a time to then go back in and do some more styling work. So I'm going to recommend that some of the bigger styling moves that we've got to make on some of these trees, we'll readdress those at that June meeting. Because here's the issue on this tree, as I see it, is we got this big old stump right here in the middle. And it would be nice if we can reduce that. And then if I sit and look at things, saying, okay, the trunk comes up, and this actually is a pretty nice, could be a pretty nice top. So trying to reduce this is going to be a little tricky because I can only go so far into it. When you're trying to reduce knobs like that up in front, that's when you go to your knob cutter. Your concave cutter wants to get around things. This is, we can get in here and we can take little bites. Now, this has been exposed, so it's already starting to rot away. And this comes out of there pretty easy. And actually, like I said, you bring this back to the June meeting, I've got a knob cutter that is about half as wide as this, so I can get in there and do some real nice work with that. And I will have that at that meeting so we can do that. In the meantime, I'm looking at what else is left in there. I got a nice branches coming up. It's got a bunch of little shoots that we're trying to grow here and there. We're just going to eliminate some of them. So again, what I'm trying to do is just thin things out. Where I see 2 or 3 branches coming out of one area, I'm trying to narrow it down to one. Because what that'll do is that'll slow this down. We have all these branches up here. Think of all of the little pipes. They're all asking for water. That means this is just going to keep expanding to feed those pipes. So we start taking pipes away, and then it doesn't have that demand, and therefore it won't keep getting thicker. See, like right here, you got 1, 2, 3 branches coming right out of the same area. I like this one coming off the side, so I'm going to take this top one off. And then, as I look at these other 2, this is coming out right here in the crotch. Get rid of that one. This one's really coming off the bottom of that branch. Now that starts to open that up. we still got, we got a big branch there. We got this little guy right here that does nothing for us. We got this one here, and then we got two coming right out on top of it. So this is my front. So I like this branch that's going that way. It gives me depth. It's going up. Eliminate that. What I think we'll do when we do that, try to narrow this, we'll actually take this down and try to make a little V in there. So that means this will go, and then this one and this one. This will become our dominant top. This one will become a side branch. Some stuff will more than likely pop out back there. So then that takes us down to these guys out here. And again, these are going out, this one's going straight up. So it's thinking, hey, I'm the apex of this tree. Well, no, you're not. And these are the things you have to do early on in a bonsai. I can tell you, my first few years, every time I went to a workshop and came home, my wife said, "Oh, brought home another stick." Because that's often what they look like. It took years to understand is that artist is trying to get you down to the basic structure of the tree. And all that other stuff, while it made it look good, it never was really going to contribute to a good tree long term. And as you can see here, we've already opened up and we can now see inside. And now we can make some smart choices. A little piece of wire moves that one way. So now we got 1, 2, 3, 4 coming out of this one area. So that means I got to pick and choose. Well, I got a nice angle here, acute angle, so I'll take the middle one out. This one's competing with that one to become the top of the tree, so we're going to say, you go away also. Now this can lay down, that can lay down a little bit, and we're starting to get a tree that will grow into itself. The problem with these things is they're growing at the nurseries and they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and nobody really takes time to shape them again. If you remember in the earlier classes, I said you got 3 obstacles to get over. One of them was what? Watering. Second one is some people are definitely afraid to cut anything. Once you get over that fear, life becomes a whole lot easier. So I've got 2 branches right here. And I can in this case I'm going to maintain this one and I'm going to shorten that one. Again, those are back branches. I don't need all kinds of bulk back there. But, they just can't do any more than that. this branch here, for this year, just let it grow. That's going to help it thicken up. Let it run, let it. If you're truly doing bonsai, they have to go through their ugly stage. And part of it on this one will be just letting that get long so that this gets thickened up. When this gets about these sizes, then we can consider pruning back to get it to have foliage back in here. But right now, we just want it to grow. And all we're doing here is we're just putting a little wire on, keeping these from being stick straight, pulling them into different areas of, so that we no longer have this giant void. We can have some foliage in
That really makes a difference. It just seemed like that one branch is just sticking out of nowhere.
there. Yep. So now what we're going to do, same thing here, we're going to put a little direction on this guy. Onto the tree. Back. Find a way not to cross the wire. Something here, you can tweak that more as it moves along, but because we're gonna do the repotting, we're not gonna take any more foliage off, we're gonna leave that there, and then it'll get repotted. So for now, say you're good to go.